What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Ducks and Download. In this video, I'm going to be going over who is definitely the best Sith, and that's right, I'm calling him a Sith, that we've ever gotten in live-action Star Wars. Anakin, I'm sorry. I love you. Darth Vader is one of the best villains and Sith to have ever been in Star Wars. He is iconic beyond iconic, but he's not the stranger. Palpatine is a god-awful Sith. He cared only about himself. Well, that's what Sith do. No, they don't. Chimere, the stranger, is the perfect embodiment of what the Rule of Two was trying to say. What Bane was trying to do within the Rule of Two itself. Count Dooku, you were a Dark Jedi. I love Count Dooku to death. Yes, he even has Sith eyes in the Clone Wars. He gave in to the dark side. He knows the Sith teachings. He was a Dark Jedi. He also would have happily have taken down Sidious with Obi-Wan's help and then have just ruled the galaxy. He would have been happy on Sereno. He did not really need to rule the galaxy. He did not have the ambition that a lot of the other Sith really had. He just hated the hypocrisy of the Republic. So again, was the stranger, Chimere, Manny Jacinto, was he a Sith in The Acolyte? Yes! The way he talks.
What master hides his face from his pupil?
You tell me.
The way he presents the dark side. What else could that be besides a Sith, a trained Sith?
But a Jedi like you might call me Sith.
I will not call him a Darth. I will not say he is a Sith Lord, because he could have very easily have been trained in the Sith ways for a while and then left. I could still see that he could be connected to the Knights of Ren and their origins, and I would not at all mind that. I actually think that's a really cool idea. He obviously knows the Sith code. He has mentioned that, strength comes from power and all those things. He has talked about how there's the power of two, so he knows about either the dyad. I'm assuming it's both. He knows of the dyad as a Sith, because it's a Sith secret power that they've been trying to emulate. And he knows of the rule of two, because he's searching for a pupil so hard to hopefully take over his master. Now, for all we know, the stranger could be the master and has simply been trying to find an acolyte, an apprentice, after his last one was killed in action or by him for not being good enough, like he was trying to do to May. I don't think he's the Sith Master, though, because he is powerful, but the Sith Master should be abominable with his ability to just roll over people. And Soul definitely got the upper hand on Chimere a few times in that fight. Now, maybe he was purposely letting that happen, and that would then lead me back into thinking, yeah, this dude's a real Sith Master. Like, he is the Sith. Because he was able to poke and jab and jeer and do just the right things to send any of the Jedi he was up against off of their balance.
You attacked me while my back is turned? Not very Jedi of you.
He made them all question themselves, question the Force, question the Jedi Code, all within this fight scene in Episode 5. And as he speaks about in Episode 5, what does he value more than anything else? Freedom.
What do you want?
Freedom. The freedom to wield my power the way I like.
What is the most important thing to a Sith? Freedom. Now, of course, they say they break their chains through their power and strength, and that will free them. The Force shall set me free. But we know that is the chain that binds them even harder. But Manny's character has just really gotten about, like we saw in the bath scene, about chest deep in these waters. He is not fully submerged yet, because he is still really harnessing into the seduction and the mental gameplay, not trying to just overpower people. He's not a Malchus, but he's also not a Revan, who is just a light side or forced to be dark. He's somewhere almost akin to what I would say is like an original Darth Bane. He wants the freedom and power to do what he wants and grow in power like the Sith should. So like what Bane would have done with his regime is wipe out all the squabbling Sith to create this ultimate rule of two. Biggest mistake in the Sith Empire. But this freedom that he values so heavy, it makes him this unwilling to give up force of just absolute chaos. But not chaos in the sense of blood and murder and mayhem like Palpatine loved to do, just being evil for the sake of evil.
So now I have to kill every single last one of you.
The stranger does what he does to gain power and get where he needs to go. He is not trying to take over the entire galaxy simply because I can. He just wants to free himself and reveal the galaxy to himself. That also makes me think that this character is actually very old. When he talks about how old he is, a long time ago or stuff like that, I could still see where he's just talking about, oh yeah, 2 decades ago, man, that felt like a lifetime. Because in my 30s, 21 feels like a lifetime ago already. But I think he is old. I think the Stranger could actually very well be an ancient Sith. If not himself, then I know I've seen Element 7 and Darth Chaco on their most recent Diet in the Force podcast, go check them out, talking about what if he's a ghost in a body. Maybe the body of Mani Jacinto is not the actual Sith. Maybe the helmet possessed him and put its spirit into him, like we saw with Momin and like we've seen, or with Viceroy Exum Panchard. I mean, we even see Yoda talking to Bane's ghost, who was trapped into a tomb, until he was able to kind of like tell it that it wasn't real. Because the Sith don't leave behind exactly their spirit, they almost leave behind this echo of themselves, this scream into the void that refuses to be quiet. The last dying breath of a Sith who doesn't want to die. With his ability to be so quick-witted.
Why risk discovery?
Well, I did wear a mask.
Always planning. This could just lead him into really being the best Sith we've gotten. And so far to me, 100% is the best Sith on live action television. Or the TV shows for that matter, but he's got some pretty good fights up for him when it comes to Old Republic and comics. Him telling Soul, was that its name?
Was that its name?
And things like, well, you brought her here. Those moments of getting in Soul's head and pushing him to where he almost commits unarmed murder, like the biggest sacrilege a Jedi could do, until Osha stops him.
His mind is twisted by darkness.
I've accepted my darkness.
Those moments are what let me know he has to be a Sith. A Dark Jedi, yeah, they would know these things, but Dark Jedi have this weird suave crutch they have to carry around on. They didn't have a personality, and they had to remove so many of their emotions, or usually they thought they had to. They're not the best Jedi normally, to be a Jedi. And then when they free themselves, they lush into love and spice and gambling and racing and just whatever they can get their hands on, like an adrenaline junkie. The Stranger wants none of that. He has been birthed through the dark side already. He has been shown where it will lead and how giving into those silly little base immediate comforts kill the infinite. He wants that infinite. He wants the pupil to carry on the rule of two, the Sith teachings of freedom and power. Or the Knights of Ren. I'm loving him either way though. But he was definitely, regardless, taught the Sith teachings. 100%. We know that he says he was a Jedi at one point. Let's really not forget here that everything he says is pretty much more than likely a 98.9% lie. He gave Osha every answer he could.
Now you're wondering how I can read your mind. I can't. Your anger betrays your thoughts.
He answered every question she gave him to satisfy her without actually answering anything. He is a perfect rule of two Sith, hiding in the shadows, eliminating anyone who notices or sees him, never revealing too much of himself, even giving his name. He would never give his name to the Jedi, because then if any of them get out, they have something to attach. It's not that he says, I have no name, because he literally doesn't have a name. He says, I have no name because the thing you would want to call me is dead. You call me a Sith because you're not going to get my name. My Darth title, which might have been removed from me, making me this future Knight of Ren, I can't tell you that. You cannot have a name to associate with a face, or you will lock it in that much more in your mind. If you see someone's face and never learn their name, you'll forget their face pretty easy. If you hear a name and never see a face, same thing happens. But if you have both, you have a really good power and a really good chance of remembering that person. And let's not mention everything that happened in episode 6 with Osha. He led her so perfectly through the world.
How does it feel?
Like she was awoken for the first time and in charge and making her own choices, and she wasn't going to let this man just steamroll over her, and that's exactly what he did the entire time.
If you're not gonna join me, I'd like to put my clothes back on.
He purposely got naked in front of her and left his saber there. Why? To prove to her that she was in control, that he was open and harmless.
Am I supposed to be your prisoner?
Prisoner? You're the one with the weapon.
He invites her in to immediately put her off guard. Wait, is he into me? He then has the ability to tell her about pain and suffering and that she's not alone in that. That statement right there, I know what you're going through. I've been through that. Man, that's a Jedi killer.
I understand. I lost everything, Osha.
When they find out the dark side guy went through the same thing they went through and made it out the other end totally fine as far as they can tell, it's such an ego boost and a selfless killer for the Jedi Knight. I love how he describes emotions being this well of power hidden right under the surface of calm and serenity.
The Jedi teach there's only one way to access the Force. But there is another way. Below the surface of consciousness are powerful emotions. Anger, fear, loss, desire.
And she says, well, that's the dark side. Semantics. What a perfect answer. Semantics. One word, just like, he literally says it like he's just throwing what she said away. And it's semantics.
Semantics?
It's brilliant because he has seen the lies of the Jedi. He has seen through what many Sith consider the oppression of the Force, or how the Jedi oppress those who would use it, how they feel like they are the end-all, be-all for any Force users. Is that true? No, the Jedi don't really feel that. Where sadly it's like with the internet, it seems a lot more worse when you look at things in certain fandoms and groups, because it's usually just the biggest asshats with a microphone speaking for everyone when they actually speak for no one. And it's the same within the Jedi Order. You have some very bad Jedi making the good Jedi all look worse. One bad apple ruins the bushel. But then even the amazing scene where he's like, oh yeah, you know, it's my helmet, it's like an old thing, you should totally try it on if you want, and then just wanders off. He knows she's going to put it on.
Kurtosis, but also a sensory deprivation headpiece, like we used as younglings. Try it on.
I don't trust you.
Nor should you.
The next thing we see out from that helmet, besides probably the flashback, is gonna be, you know, like a leaned against a rock. Man, he's just gonna be standing there like, oh, you put it on? Felt pretty good, didn't it? Because he's realizing that Osha is realizing that she's reconnecting to the Force.
You think that his strength, that's your strength in the Force, Osha.
This re-emergence into the Force is going to be the perfect thing for him to take her over.
What you're feeling right now, this anger, this pain, this is who you are.
They didn't throw me away.
Then why aren't you a Jedi? Why aren't you a Jedi, Osha?
Because I failed!
Corrupt her, and she will fall to the dark side. Osha is definitely falling to the dark side with Chimere / the Stranger. I'm going to take it as far as Osha will probably end up killing her sister to cement herself in the dark side, while the Stranger deals with Soul. Maybe also Vernestra, but anyone who shows up in this last confrontation, and it's definitely gonna be Soul, maybe also Vern though, they die. I see Vernestra and Soul dying at the finale of this show, and then everyone showing up and be like, oh, who knows what happened? I guess a dark Jedi must have killed them all, or there's an explosion and all their bodies are burned, and
Surprise.
because that'd be a smart thing to do. If I was the Stranger and I finally killed all the Jedi who knew about me, I'm gonna burn their bodies so you can't see the lightsaber wounds. You gotta do something.
What extraordinary beings we are. Even in the revelation of our triumph, we see the depth of our despair.
And then that will lead to why Ki-Adi-Mundi's famous word of,
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
because to them they are. There's no evidence. They just saw this weird thing of a person going around killing Jedi, and more Jedi kept dying. So obviously this assassin is very good at killing Jedi, and not a Sith, right? There's no Sith. Why would it be a Sith? We haven't heard anything about a red lightsaber or force powers. It's just some assassin. It'll be very easy for them to continue into the Phantom Menace without breaking canon. But the new canon is definitely that Manny Jacinto, Chimere / the Stranger, is the best Sith in live action Star Wars. Try and change my mind in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your criticisms, and let them be actually critically thought and constructive criticism. If you're just here to say the Acolyte's bad and you can't support that because you've never actually watched it, then you're just parroting what you've heard some other person online say, and your opinion matters zero to me. So, if you guys have an actual discourse you want to do about this, let's talk in the comments. I'd love to know your favorite Sith down below. And while you're down there, make sure to strike the like button and lightening up the subscribe. I would love the channel to keep growing, guys. It's been so much fun, and I'm so happy for those of you that are here. Have an amazing rest of your evening, and as always, may the Force serve you well.